Hey, we're back. Today in this video we're going to be talking about capacitors. We're going to be talking about why they go bad, how you determine if they're bad or not, and most importantly, the different sizes of capacitors. I have a couple of capacitors here in front of me, from small to big to different sizes, and they fit different applications. Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of the capacitor. And for those of you who like meat and potatoes, you can see that I love my meat and potatoes, okay? All right. So, a customer asked me, one of my favorite customers over in Lilburn, she asked me, she said, well, Reggie, why does my capacitor tend to quit working every single summer? And went out to her house and we checked it out and diagnosed the system. Of course, that's what you want to do, is you want to do a diagnostic on a system, and that'll tell you why the problem is happening, or you could be able to pinpoint exactly what that problem is. With Marble Heating and Air, that's what we love to do. We're certain and we're accurate on our diagnosis. I like to keep it that way because I know what I'm talking about once I'm doing a diagnostic on a system. Okay, so first what I want to do is I want to check some good capacitors. Now these are used capacitors. We won't use these. They'll probably get tossed into the pile and then we'll recycle them later. We'll always use a brand new capacitor on your system. The reason why you don't want to use a used capacitor is because it's been on another system for quite some time, and if you have somebody to come out and put a used capacitor on your system, then they're really not doing you any good. So to answer her question, she asked, why does her system keep breaking down on a yearly basis? Well, that could be one of the reasons. When I got to her house, this capacitor was in her system, and there's no way in 1 year that a capacitor could absolutely could really look like this. It looks terrible. From the label, I can't even tell what size, how many microfarads this capacitor carries. You can't really tell anything on it. So I know for a fact, and I showed her this, and I said, Judy, there's no way that this capacitor is brand new. It was put in last year. But she said it was. So we'll let you be the judge on what happened with that situation when she had to repair it last year, okay? Now, with your multimeter, you have a couple of settings on there. And this is a Phoenix. I like Phoenix. They're pretty good. It's a pretty good tool to have. Some people use Philpiece. Some people use Yellow Jacket. That's a brand of multimeter that you could use. But this is one of my favorites. So I put my meter on the microfarad setting. You know, that's what I have on the microfarad setting. And I want to check these capacitors. But before I check them, I'm going to share with you the different leads on this capacitor. You have your common, you have your hermetic, HERM is labeled HERM, and you have fan label on there. Kind of easy to read. Some of them are hidden a little bit, but being a technician, you would know what you're dealing with when you read these different labels on the terminals that you're looking at. To check this capacitor, you're going to take your leads from your multimeter, and you're going to go from common, and you're going to scratch a little bit just to make sure you're getting a good connection. Because remember, if you don't have a good connection, you really don't have anything. To fan. and now the meter is loading up. The capacitor is getting a charge, and it's reading 56. Okay, then we go from common to Herm, and we're reading 4.61. That tells me something. That tells me that this capacitor is bad, because it's the microfarad reading from common to fan is extremely high. Something went wrong inside this capacitor. Something definitely went wrong inside that capacitor. Let's check the next one. You can almost undetermine where your engravings are on here. Let's scratch it off a little bit. I see common right there, and I see fan. No, that's Herm. Now I see it. Can you see it? So we have common on this side, and we have Herm. So the only thing is left is fan. So let's check from common to Herm, and we're reading 0 on our multimeter. Let's go from common to fan, and we're reading 0 on our multimeter. So that tells you that this rusty Coke can looking contraption is bad. You can just toss it. Okay, let's check another one. The smaller ones typically are good applications for your blower motor, and this particular one here is 7.5 UF. UF means microfarads. Let's check this one and see what happens. Scratch it a little bit so that we get a good connection, and we read 7.65. So that tells me right there, even though this capacitor is rusty, it's still giving a charge. It's receiving a charge and it's giving a charge. One thing you want to be certain to do on any capacitor is always discharge your capacitor. You want to always discharge your capacitor. You want to always discharge your capacitor. Why do you want to discharge your capacitor? Well, here's the reason why. If you don't discharge your capacitor, you could run the risk of getting a high shock. It'll shock you. It holds electricity, and if you touch the leads on that without discharging it, sometimes it will shock you. So you want to be on the safe side and make sure that that doesn't happen. Let's check this one. This is a different style of capacitor. It's a 35 UF by 7.5 UF, which is microfarads. We'll check our common to our fan and see what we're getting. 7.48. That's good on the fan motor side. And on our Herm side, we're getting 26.41. So that lets me know that this capacitor will work, but it is a little weak. That's why we take the time to diagnose the problem, fix it, put in a new capacitor because it's not up to snuff, and there you have it. And I can assure you that customers that have this type of work done like we do it will change this out. You'll start to see more customers. That's it. Thanks.